All right, bro. Let's get into the movie we came here to review. Let's get into Peninsula, the sequel to Train to Busan, which I think like the official title is like Train to Busan Presents Peninsula is like the full name of the movie or whatever, because they had to get Train to Busan in there some way. Bro, like I have so many thoughts on this movie. The first thing that I want to say is that just starting off from how this film starts off, I love that it feels like we jumped into not the same story, but it feels like instantly we feel like we're in that same universe. You get the family in the car or whatever, and I think it was supposed to only be a day since like the breakout happened, and they talk about like they did a good job at letting us know that without picking up from the exact characters from the first movie, that those characters are probably all fucking dead. And I love that they did that because they say like, oh yeah, there was a rumor that there was a quarantine in Busan, and while a lot of people did go there, it proved not to be. And it's like, oh fuck, so did they make it to Busan and fucking all die, bro? That was my first initial thought. What do you think about kind of the opening to this movie and us jumping back into this universe that they set
I
up
have a lot to say about this movie, but I'm gonna not just let it all just shoot my shot on the first 30 seconds of this. So let's talk about that first scene. Yeah, the first scene, I like the way it started off because immediately you're right back into the forefront of things, and you know there's no like slow build here. You just immediately, and that's how these type of movies, these zombie movies, that's how they should all be done. Just it should be nonstop, going. So yeah, I like the way it started.
Yeah, and I think like to and even it was more English in it than I was expecting. Like when they had the guy and he was like explaining like we thought it happened in Hong Kong, and then it was like, yeah, it was one day this happened, and then you know that was 4 days, that happened over 4 days, and then all of a sudden, oh yeah, but that was 4 years ago, and it's like, oh shit, so we're doing a time jump. But before we get into the time jump, to be in the situation with what is going to turn out to be our main characters, and for them to be driving and to see this woman, which will come back, and they kind of leave her, you understand it. You understand it to a degree, and then when they get on the boat and there's an infected there, and like he hears it, and he's immediately, oh fuck, my sister's down there, and they go down there. I love how they, in a way, without picking up with the same characters, they kind of picked up on the same theme for the original. The fact that, you know, the daughter lived in that one, but this mother and son in this case both die. And I think that was a great thing. Now, my issues almost immediately started after this. let me say, I'll bury the lead. I won't get into full details. I, for the most part, like this movie, but there are some things that they did in this movie that I was like, look, if you just wanted to make a fucking action movie, just make a fucking action movie.
First of all, for those who've never checked out the Film Bros, the full spoilers are ahead. We're going to say everything. So if you haven't seen this movie, check it out and come back and, and then check us out. But I'm actually shocked because I thought we're going to have a huge disagreement this episode, because by the way you were saying, I thought like this is going to be like a 10 for you. And I'm like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? So, okay.
We'll get into the story. The thing that I don't like, just as a theme, so people can kind of know where my mindset is going into the things that I have problems with in this movie. I'm a Walking Dead fan. And by season 3 of The Walking Dead, the zombies were no longer an issue, because like they would hold hordes of zombies that would take them 2 or 3 episodes in the first couple seasons to deal with. They're just walking through, handling like bosses or whatever, and it became more about the characters and what humans do to each other. And I get it in a long form TV show, because you can only do so much character work with zombies. It has to be the humans. This is a zombie movie, and like what they did in the original Train to Busan, because all these characters were connected from the get-go, we got that characterization. Because we have so many characters that don't really interact somewhat until the end of the movie, like all these bits and pieces, I didn't feel as attached to the characters as I did in the original Train to Busan. You just said
that's all you need to say. That could be the end of the review right there. Here's my thing. Oh, my bad. Were you done? So no, go ahead, here's my thing. And it really pissed me off. This movie fell flat on its face. And you know who's to blame for that? You,
us,
me, and every other fucking American. Yeah. Let me tell you why. Yeah. They pandered like a motherfucker to us. They should have never, ever done that. When I started seeing the English, I'm like, please don't pander to us, bro. The beauty of the first movie was they didn't give a fuck about Americans. They were making a Korean movie for their people. But because the movie blew up so much, they changed everything. They changed all the beauty of it. I love the character development in Train to Busan. I love the little storylines, the little story arcs between the baseball couple, the husband and pregnant wife, the father and daughter, the COO of the company that was an asshole. There was so many story arcs. Here, it felt like more like an action movie. And it's so funny you say Walking Dead because it felt like an episode of Walking Dead, actually. Like a lot of different Walking Dead stuff kind of jumbled in. And I see a lot of Korean movies. I've never seen a Korean movie sort of like this, which means, and it's telling me they were just trying to pander to us, and it hurt the movie a lot.
And I get in a world that I do love the fact that we got what it's like to live in a zombie apocalypse, and the fact that the zombies were really contained to just this one area, so the rest of the world is able to kind of like, that's an interesting take. I almost wish we would have got into that more and you could have built the characters that way, because we've never, at least to my knowledge, not that I've seen, gotten a zombie movie to where the rest of society is pretty much operating as normal. It's just now they figured out a way to avoid the peninsula and let the zombies kind of do their thing. They even said like the zombies went dormant basically, especially at night. Like as soon as that line came, I'm like, I know where the fuck we're going to go with this shit, man. And like you said, the English came in. We got so much English in this movie. The thing I loved about the original Train to Busan is, yes, it's a zombie movie, right? But the zombies are used as a way to propel and see how our characters interact with each other. This was this was like the Raid 3 with zombies thrown in it. Like, and I get it. They do some of the character stuff, like the I forget the mother's name who originally got left, and when he tells her like, hey, I was out, and she was like, well, you were the first car. There were 30 more that passed me after that. Like, that could be a great plot thing. And like, I get it. I get what they were trying to do. There are some things and threads here that, and the ending, even the ending, and we'll get into it. Like the ending kind of touched me as well. Like I get that, but it didn't feel as earned as what we got with it. Felt like they were playing off the fact that they assuming we saw the original Train to Busan, and we know how that ended with the parent there, and they're like, and we're gonna be like, oh, here we go again with this shit. This shit's so depressing, and you didn't earn it the same way. It's just, and having so much military shit and the fighting, and it's like this movie felt like it was made to make a great trailer, because the trailer to Peninsula, we've talked about it. It was amazing, but everything that could have shocked me was all in the trailer, and it was not the main basis of the movie. It just, bro, I hate being disappointed by something that I was looking so far, and I hate being down. You know, I try to come in here and I try to pull the positives out that I can, and there are some to pull out of this movie, but overall it was just like, and I guess we should talk about some of the more details and get into the themes, bro. So what's the first thing you want to talk about? Like, we already laid out that there's a family. There's the uncle, his sister, his sister's husband, and his nephew, their son. The wife and the son die early on, so we get this brother and this brother-in-law who aren't really family. And after that 4-year time jump, we kind of see that they've connected and they've stayed close because that's really all that they have. And then they're separated at some point. And the whole plot of this is that they're sending them into the peninsula to get a truck that was full of money. And things fall out from there. What do you think about the basis?
I hate the plot, man. Why does anyone give a fuck about money right now? I mean,
because remember, the rest of the world is still operating as normal. So I kind of get that.
Not worth it to me. I mean, okay. The plot, man, there's so many issues. I have so many issues with this movie, and I hate to be a downer, like you said before. I was so hyped up and pumped up for this movie, man. Like, Train to Busan is either my number 1 or number 2 Korean movie ever. And I've seen tons of Korean movies, and it's really sucks that this one happened. And when you do these type of movies, though, in any movie, but especially this sort of genre, like horror thriller, if you want to call it that, you have to be able to have your actors and actresses connect with the audience. I was connected with so many of the people from Train to Busan, and in this, I could care less about anybody, except for the beginning scene where the guy left, the lady and her kid. Yeah, that I felt bad about. Mm-hmm. And we said the beginning of the movie started out pretty well. But you know what? At the same time, I looked at my wife and I'm like, watch what's going to happen. I guarantee you at the end of this movie, he's going to probably sacrifice his life to save those two. Because And that's exactly what happened. I wish things would have been done a different way in terms of stuff throughout the movie. I mean, not much to say. I will say, like, I like the arena, I think is what they called it.
Yeah,
That was a cool
dope.
thing.
The time I don't know what to call it, like the crab zombie, like all the zombies on top of each other crawl, like it's a great visual. But again, it goes back to, it seemed like it was made to make it. It was put in there it would be a cool image to have in the trailer of a movie. It's just, I hate, and the zombies are still threats. I don't want to act like they're not threats, but they took what was a character piece set amongst zombies and turned it into this stereotypical, like, this could have been a direct to Netflix movie, and it would have been like take the Train to Busan label. Like, when you have a brand name, you expect certain themes to carry on, and it just was this still directed by the original director?
I believe it's not only the same director. I believe it's the same writer as well. And here's the problem. I mean, we're adults here. It's very hard to watch movies nowadays that scare you, like legit, maybe a jump scare, but like legit scare you. Train to Busan wasn't scary, but here what Train to Busan was. And I hate to keep bringing up Train to Busan, but I mean, it's a sequel, so of course we're going to compare. Train to Busan wasn't scary, but let me tell you what Train to Busan did for me. There was a lot of intense and suspenseful moments where you didn't know what's going to happen. And it was, oh shit, what's going to happen? That suspense and that anxiousness was there. Here, I didn't get that at all. Not even one time, like, oh shit, like what's gonna happen here? But maybe at the end when the mom was in the truck and I'm like, oh fuck, is she gonna get saved or not? Yeah. Outside of that, not really much. And I don't know if it's because I was detached to the characters or they just didn't set that atmosphere and that aura.
Yeah. Ultimately, this movie just feels like this should have come 3 or 4 sequels into it, right? Like, why do we lose what made Train to Busan so special in the first sequel after it? Like, I get it, I know, and action movies are more franchisable, right? So like, or maybe now that they see this, because the movie's already made its budget back, it hasn't even had an official American release yet, and we know Americans love action movies, so this may blow up more than Train to Busan ever did in America, but it doesn't feel earned. And hopefully maybe they learn it, that maybe they can meld the two back together if they end up doing a third one in this one, another sequel. But I like the main character. I'm bad with Korean names. Jung Sok, I believe, is Jung. I'll call him Jung. I liked him. Like, his character, I like, and the fact that he is so guilt ridden between thinking about leaving the woman and her kids, which he ends up meeting back up with, thinking about his sister passing away and him seeing that and his nephew die. Like, this I wouldn't say tortured, but this darker character, I liked him. I think he's an enjoyable actor. I liked it. I liked the portrayal of him and everything. I would have just liked to see him put around more people that can build. And I think, that's one thing that we get. We get a lot more characters than and maybe not. Maybe we get more characters, but all these stories that all kind of came together in the end or were supposed to, it didn't feel earned because these characters didn't interact very much. The thing about Train to Busan, when you get the couples that have the father's a coward and the guy doesn't like him because he's a coward, and you see this build throughout the movie, and even them eventually coming to a place of respecting each other and him realizing stuff about his daughter, like, it all feels earned because these characters, we see them from the moment that the outbreak starts to the moment that they end. They're basically together for the most part up until then. It just didn't happen.
I can't even say anything bad about what you said because I agree with that. I agree 100%. Now, on this show, we like to, fantasy book, for lack of better terms, on how we would have done it. And I don't know if do you have any ideas of how you would have went about, doing this? What would you have changed and how would you have done it?
Okay, so let's take the basic, to just kind of improve this basic plot thread, right? Okay, so let's say you have I don't really want to call them militia. What were they?
They were the sergeant militia, and the
captain.
Yeah.
They were a militia. Okay, so you have the militia characters, right? Maybe you have them all converging on this money while all of our good characters converge on this money as well, and like maybe how they deal with zombies, and we see like one side's more ruthless than the other. Like I almost would have rather than ditch the brother storyline. The main character Jung, who I really like, let's say they drop him in solo rather than sending 4 people with him that we end up losing half of them anyway. Let's say you send him in solo. They sent him in because he doesn't care if he lives or die. He's going to try to go get the money for them. He gets in, something happens, the woman finds him or whatnot, and he's gone for a couple of days. And we see him building up with the characters there. And then maybe the person who sent Jung's in finds his brother and is like, look, I sent your brother in for this money 2 weeks ago. I haven't heard from him. And he's like, I got to go find my brother-in-law. Like, that's the only family I have left. Like, something like that. I don't know. Like, or maybe just keep the brothers together the whole time and have them, like, both come to the realization of that's the woman that we left behind. Like, I don't know, because the brother-in-law never realizes that he found it's the same woman I would have just liked to see how their difference of opinions over that, because the brother-in-law is telling him, hey, get over your guilt with this. This is really why you're guilt. This is why you're pissed off about this. And I don't know, man. I really don't know how I would have saved this movie. If you can't tell, I would have the only way that I could save this movie is to rewrite a whole fucking different plot.
That's where I'm going with this. I would rewrite the whole plot. First thing is, I would have, just so there's some connection between Train to Busan, I would have had the little girl from Train to Busan, I would have had her in this movie. If you can't get the exact person, someone to play that character. Mm-hmm. In addition to that, the woman that was pregnant, I would have had her child be in this movie as well. Have it be the girl from part 1 taking care of the child. The mom died. However she died, whatever. So it's them two. Okay. I'd still have Jun Suk or whatever his name is. I would still have him in it. I would still have the lady and the lady and the kid, right? The two kids. Girls. Yeah. And Jun Suk leave them, but later on, Jun Suk crosses paths with the girl, you know, the little girl from Train to Busan and the baby. And because he left the girl with the two kids from the beginning, he feels like, hey, this is my second shot to help them. And he helps them. And rather than incorporating money, and the militia stuff is okay, and the people going crazy, because that's something that was not in.
The sergeant cracked me up. Like his facial reaction and shit, he cracked me the fuck up. But
no problem. And Train to Busan didn't have too much of that about, the zombies were a threat, but outside of the zombies, like the outside world, because that's also a threat. You know, when you watch Walking Dead, it's become to the point now where the outside world is more of a threat than the zombies are. So that part of it I liked. But now people are kind of connected immediately because this is the same girl for part 1. It's the baby. So now you have some kind of connection towards them. So it'll help you connect to the other characters. And maybe they're trying to go to like a quarantine zone or an area where like it's safe. And it's their whole, journey to get there. And they got to deal with all these different obstacles. The militia, and they got to deal with the zombies. And now you have more care rather than a bunch of assholes going to get some money.
And my thing too, like as much as I do like Jung Suk, the thing that bothers me about him being so tortured over this is that if you did pick up that woman and her kids, they probably would have died. Like when you look at how things went when they got on the boat with like his sister, they probably would have died. You probably saved their lives by not picking them up. So like
that's a plot hole though. I don't think they don't want you to realize that.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, bro, they more than likely would have gotten bitten and died, and you would have had to shoot them in the head. So like, I don't like the fact that like when you try to earn something, but it's cheaply done, because I would have liked for him to say, hey, I know I left you, but we made it to the boat, and my sister and my nephew were murdered. So maybe I did, like, I get it. I was being an asshole. I'll forever feel bad for being an asshole. But maybe in the long run, I saved you and your kids' lives by not picking.
Exactly. So I do think it's a plot hole that they probably didn't think about. Like, hey, you know what? If she came in the car, they probably would have died too, along with everybody else. So it probably worked out this way.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we've been highly, highly negative on this movie, which sucks because I did not think. I thought you were going to be on opposite ends of me, because like I'm like, maybe bro's going to love this movie. Okay, what did you like about this movie?
Little things that kind of we talked about already. I like the beginning. I would say the last 30 minutes of the movie or so are pretty good. They're not like 10 stars or 5 stars or anything like that, but the last 30 minutes of the movie were pretty good. The first 15 minutes were also good. Everything in between was not so good, but I like the main character, the guy John Suk, if that however you say his name. I like the lady with the 2 daughters. I liked her role really good. Like I said, I like the arena part. There's like bits and pieces. I'm really struggling here. You're not supposed to watch a movie and kind of struggle to find out good parts. And I'm grasping. I feel like I'm grasping at straws here because overall, maybe if I didn't see Train to Busan, I might feel differently. But I think because I'm comparing it so much to Train to Busan is why maybe it's going down a couple notches. Like, what if we didn't see Train to Busan? Would we be this critical of it?
I think, and that's kind of what I was getting in. This was, for example, like Platform, a foreign movie we didn't know that dropped on Netflix. I love the genre, and I break it even horror down to subgenres. Like the zombie genre of movies, I love in general. I love zombie movies in general.
Evil Dead.
While I'm down on this movie, I'm down on this movie as a sequel to the original Train to Busan. Overall, it could have been a cool, enjoyable Sunday afternoon watch on Netflix. I think I would have, if it would have just been something random, I probably wouldn't have walked away so disappointed because it's not a brand behind it. But even then, it's like at that point, it just becomes this forgettable action zombie movie. I probably would have watched it and been cool and entertained, but it wouldn't have been anything that stuck with me. Like the original Train to Busan, to this day, I think about the ending of that movie. I think like, I will never forget the feeling that I had watching that movie for the first time. It's one of those movies. This didn't leave me with anything memorable.
Zero, and that's the problem. Like, if you were flicking channels one day, let's say it happened to be on HBO or something, you're flipping channels, and you saw it even from the very beginning, the first 5 minutes of the movie until the end, you would probably have absolutely zero idea this is a sequel to Train to Busan. Because there's really no correlation there. There's nothing. There's nothing there. And I'm not saying you have to go hardcore with part 1, but the stuff that we love from part 1 is missing from part 2. And they tried to go in a totally different direction. And like we said before, I think with all the action and the English and everything, they were trying to pander to the Americans and Western civilization and stuff like that. And I kind of think they missed the boat on it there.
This feels like we and you both. What did we review? Did we review Extraction? We reviewed Extraction. This feels like like Extraction with zombies.
Yeah, you're right, because Extraction is an action type film.
Yeah, and again, that's not. If you hear those two things, you probably think it's not a bad thing. But this is coming off such a character driven movie. Now, my favorite part, because we're supposed to be trying to be positive. My is Jung Suk. I like as a character. But I think the daughters in this movie stood out to me. The daughters in this movie, like and I thought one was a boy at first.
Bro, until the end is when I found out it's a girl. When she like pulls the gun.
That's funny. Yeah, but I really like the daughters in this movie. We talk about kids in movies. They either help, hurt, or completely indifferent. And they're very rarely indifferent. It's either they help or hurt the movie. I really like the kids in this movie, and I think that you got the feeling of these kids grew up and have seen some shit. We didn't get to see all of it. Then at the end, or towards the end, where she's like, the world I knew wasn't that bad either. It's like, fuck. From us just coming into it, it seemed like that shit was terrible. But that was all that she knew. So for her to say that it wasn't that bad is like, damn, what the fuck have you seen some shit? So I really enjoy those kids. Like I would love to see in a sequel these two girls with the girl from the original. Fuck all the adults. Like have it. Jung Suk can die at the end. The mom can die at the beginning. Like I don't give a fuck about none of them motherfuckers. Give me the 3 children from these.
I think that's smart, man. And immediately you're gonna be vested in these kids because you know them. You know all 3 of them. Yeah. So you're gonna care about them. So if something bad happens to any of them, or they're in danger, you're gonna care. And once you can get the audience to care, that's it. You're locked in.
Perfect way for a third sequel. I couldn't replot this one. Plot for the third one. They got in the plane, right? We didn't see them land. No. The plane crashes. Plane crashes in the jungle. Some shit. Everyone dies except the 2 little girls. They're going through this jungle. somebody all of a sudden saves them. It's the girl from the original. Bam.
She just lives in the jungle.
There you go.
I love it, yo. I bet you'd be a better movie than this.
Oh man, but yeah, I thought we were gonna have like this long, like in us saying we were gonna do this movie. My mind was like, we're gonna have this long ass review. We're gonna break down the characters. We're gonna talk about them, and it was a zombie action. It was a dumb zombie action movie, man.
10,000 times before. There's nothing different between this and 95% of other zombie movies out there. Literally no difference.
Exactly. And I'm sure there's going to be somebody who hears this review and be like, you guys you just didn't get it. There's so much character development here.
Show me. Comment below on the video or hit us up on Gmail. Haize will give you all the information. If you disagree with us, please let us know what the hell we missed. Please, I would love to know what we missed.
Exactly. Because I don't see it, bro. I don't fucking see it. But man, that's it. You got anything left on this, man?
Nah. If we continue this, I'm gonna end up like I'm about to do what the chick was about to do with the truck at the end of the movie.
All right. So final review or rating on this movie. What is it?
So I'm gonna go out of 5 stars. I'm gonna be generous here. I'm gonna be generous only because I don't even know why I'm being generous, but I'm gonna go ahead and give this 2 out of 5 stars, and that's being fucking generous.
Okay. All right, cool. If we're doing out of 5, see, I feel like a 2.5 is too low, but I feel like a 3 isn't quite.
This shit is not above average.
Bro, it's 2.75 is what I'll give it. There you go. As a standalone movie, 2.75. As a sequel to Train to Busan,
so I think collectively, Film Bros, if you do the average, we're basically at like a 2.5 pretty much.
Yeah. All right, bro. Man, that's it. Go ahead and give them your social media.
Yeah, let's run the hell out of here. I can be reached on Twitter at the P1JB. That's at THEP1JB. And also I can be reached on Facebook, Javid Bashrula. And I'll shoot it over to Haize. I'll give you all the other good stuff.
You can follow me at CEO Haize, the CEO Haize. You can follow us collectively at the Film Bros Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, thefilmfrequencypod@gmail.com. We are going next week. We'll be back on our Karate Kid review, so you will be getting Karate Kid 3, following up with review of Cobra Kai season 1 and season 2 before season 3 comes out on Netflix. That's all we got.
Absolutely,
man.
That's it. Let's get out of here.
All right. Well, we'll see you, lovely and beautiful people, next week. Peace.